Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Othello and today we get to hear from Michael Cassio in Act 2, Scene 1. So, quick catch up on things. Michael Cassio was the man who was named Othello's lieutenant, taking the job that Iago wanted and effectively causing Iago to hate Othello, even though, like, seriously, this is something that Iago should take emotional responsibility for. There had to be reasons why Cassio got the job instead of him, but Iago, instead of handling it like a well-balanced adult, has decided that he hates Othello and he's going to try to undo Othello. So first he was working with Roderigo to try to get Desdemona in trouble, Desdemona being Othello's wife, but that didn't quite work, so now he's told Roderigo that he should follow Othello to the war in Cyprus because Othello and Desdemona will eventually get bored with each other, so then Roderigo can swoop in and get Desdemona. So Roderigo has gone off to do that. Othello is on a boat on the way to Cyprus. Iago is supposed to get Desdemona on a boat on the way to Cyprus, like first thing in the morning, but he has also decided that when he gets to Cyprus, he is going to, like, very cautiously, but somewhat soon, he's going to start planting the idea in Othello's mind that Desdemona and Cassio have been sleeping together. He thinks that that's a good idea and that's a good way to undo things. So anyway, Act 2, Scene 1, we start out with Montano, who is the governor of Cyprus, and he's there with some of his gentlemen, and they're watching the seas, waiting for Othello and his ships and his fleet to show up, but there's a horrible storm happening, so they're also trying to figure out, like, which ships are being wrecked, which ships are still safe. They're like, I don't know who's on what ships, all this sort of thing, and then a messenger comes in and says that basically the entire Turkish fleet has been destroyed. And they're like, well, how do we know it was the Turkish fleet that was destroyed? And they're like, well, because Michael Cassio saw it. His ship made it here safely, so let's chat with him, and he can tell us that they were destroyed. So Cassio comes in because his boat has landed. His boat got separated from the rest of the Venetian fleet. So, like, Othello is on a different boat and hasn't made it there yet. Cassio's boat gets there first. And he's like, yeah, the whole Turkish fleet was being destroyed, and let's keep a lookout and hope that Othello is still safe and still on his way, and that he'll be able to get here in one piece, all that sort of thing. While they're there, Montano is like, so, is it true that Othello got married? And Cassio's like, yep, to the most beautiful woman that you've ever seen. And then another boat shows up, and they're all like, who's on this boat? Who's on this boat? And it turns out that it's Iago and Desdemona, and Cassio's like, oh, it's Iago, Othello's ancient, along with Desdemona. And Montano's like, who's Desdemona? And Cassio says, she that I spake of, our great captain's captain, left in the conduct of the bold Iago, whose footing here anticipates our thoughts of said night's speed. Great Jove, Othello guard, and swell his sail with thine own powerful breath, that he may bless this bay with his tall ship, make love's quick pants in Desdemona's arms, give renewed fire to our extincted spirits. And then Desdemona and Iago and Roderigo and Amelia come in. Oh, behold, the riches of the ship is come on shore. You men of Cyprus, let her have your knees. Hail to the lady and the grace of heaven, before, behind thee, and on every hand, and wheel thee round. So it's not a very exciting monologue. Basically, he's saying that Desdemona is Othello's wife, and she's awesome, and he prays that Othello's ship is kept safe, and then Iago and Desdemona and Roderigo and Amelia is Iago's wife, they all come in, and he's like, hey, welcome, and all you people from Cyprus, this is Desdemona, so you should, like, bow down and pay your respects to her, and all of that sort of thing. And they're like, hi everybody, how's everything going? Where's Othello? He hasn't made it here yet. His ship got taken away. And so Desdemona then decides that she's going to pass the time while they're waiting for Othello by asking Iago to, like, she's like, how would you praise me if you had to praise me? And he's like, I don't want to play that game. And she's like, okay, well, what about a woman that was like this? And so they do a sort of back and forth where Desdemona names a type of woman, and Iago comes up with some silly rhyme to kind of sort of put that woman down. And that's sort of, there's some back and forth, and Desdemona's like, well, you know, I'm glad that you're not praising me if you're going to praise people that way, because the women that you praise best are the worst women, and that sort of a thing. And yeah, they're basically just waiting for Othello to show up, which he eventually does, but we'll get there in tomorrow's monologue. So I'll see you then for that. Mwah.